Hey everybody, this video I'm going to be getting into luxury and what I got a problem with it. I'm going to be calling this the Teslification or the Rolexification of cycling, and I've touched on it in other videos, but I'm going to be going into depth about it. So how is it like Tesla, the Teslification? I think about Cybertrucks. They came out a few years ago. You had to be on a wait list to get one. Everyone who got one thought they were the bee's knees. You'd see them drive around. They looked a little unconfident, but they had a weird smirk on their face driving around these things. Now you hardly see them driving around. They're kind of embarrassed to drive them around. But when that came out, I was like, this is a male Birkin bag. And if you know what a Birkin bag is, it's a $50,000 handbag that women buy so they can signify to other women that they were able to purchase this handbag. And it's kind of an obnoxious looking handbag, and it's not that pretty looking, but that's not the point. The point is to signify wealth to others. And when the S-Works, $20,000 S-Works came out, I was like, that's another Birkin bag product. It's got a silly paint job. It's super obnoxious. This is luxury taking over a quality bike market. So you got a difference between quality and luxury. You know, every luxury product has a level of quality in it, but not every quality product is luxurious. You know, if you wanted to go buy a handbag, you could go to Nordstrom or Dillard's or wherever, spend $500 on a handbag, and it's gonna be a quality handbag. But you could also get a better quality handbag if you went to a local leather maker and had them make the bag by hand locally. It wouldn't be as prestigious, but it would cost the same amount of money. So quality and luxury, they're two different things. And I don't have a gripe with bikes costing a lot of money. You know, that's not my gripe. My gripe is, and I'm going to get into detail, and I'm going to name names in this video. My gripe is brands turning away from the function of a product and turning towards the luxury, the form of the product. You see, this is my titanium fat bike. It's a Corvus. It's like $5,000 plus retail for this fat bike. I don't have a problem buying a super nice fat bike, you know, but I have a problem. I bought this because I wanted the best quality bike I could get my hands on, you know, and I respect that. I also respect people who don't want to spend thousands of dollars on a bike too. That's a respectable position. It's not necessary. But what I'm talking about is bike brands shifting the focus from building the most quality bike possible to building the most luxurious branded bike possible. And I mentioned S-Works has done this for years. The S-Works line is basically indistinguishable from their high-end regular line. And you know, brands will do this with different carbon fiber resins in the frames. But probably the prime example, and a company that's absolutely killing it now, is Scott Bicycles. You know, I'm going to get into it, that the headset cable routing, and I could show a picture of a Scott bike. The cables are hidden into the handlebars and into the headset and down into the frame. And people gripe about this. They say that saves wattages and it saves draft. If you're a cross-country racer, then all those cables, it's not getting wind and you're going faster. I call baloney on that because Ibis, their XC, does not have internal cable routing, and it won, I think, a gold medal in the Olympics. So if it was that big of a deal, another bike without it would not be winning the medals with competing against the bikes that had it. And so they have that. And then also on the Bold cycles and the Scott bikes, their full suspension frames, the rear shock is hidden inside the frame. And to bike guys, we look at bikes, we like the look of the frames. But a guy just going into a bike shop looking at a bike, they see a bike without the rear shock showing, without the cable showing, and they think this is good. This is a luxury product. It's smooth. You know, about expensive brands, probably if I had unlimited money, I'd probably go buy an Atherton brand bike, and they're more expensive than Scott's. But if you looked at it, if just an average customer looked at the Atherton bikes, you know, they use carbon fiber like poles, I forgot the exact term, and then they use lugs, and they make a custom full suspension frame. And it's like $5,000. And it shows the shock, and the cables are all externally routed. If you were to show that just to an average consumer, and you'd say, is the Scott bike or this bike, which one is a higher quality? Which one is more prestigious? The customer's gonna go with the Scott. And I mean, it happens multiple times a year. People will tell me, which bike should I buy? And I'm like, they're looking at a Scott or something. I'm like, you should buy an Ibis, you should buy this, the Scott. If the headset, you're getting the internal headset routing, water works its way into that headset and the cables wear out. So you get your cables worn out faster and you get worn out bearings in the headset. And then also the maintenance to repair those cables. If I have to repair those cables, it's gonna be an added $50 something service fee on top of it. And over half the time, the customers are like, I don't care, it looks cool, I'm gonna buy it. So it's kind of disheartening for me because I like quality. I love quality bikes. And I had a guy, when I was on Instagram, I complained about the headset routing, and he was a professional mountain biker and he was retired, and he's like, I bet you don't like suspension either. I'm like, I love suspension. It adds complexity, but the complexity it adds, that negative side far outweighs the positives of riding on a bike with suspension or with a dropper post. When dropper posts came out, I had a KS in like 2010 and it broke like all the time, but I kept getting it fixed because having a dropper post, even if it was unreliable, is so much better than having a rigid seat post, or having a suspension is so much better than not. It's worth the added complexity. I'm not arguing, I'm not a Luddite. You know, if shoving the cables into a headset made the bike perform better, okay, I'll deal with it. If shoving a rear shock inside of a frame, hiding the shock from the frame made the bike perform better, I'd keep my mouth shut. But it makes it perform worse because you can't keep upkeep. You're not gonna be able to check how your shock is doing every single ride you go on. Every ride I go on, I look down at my shock and I make sure it's compressing right. I take a look and see if there's grime on the seals, you know? And when you hide the components for aesthetic reasons, that's done away with, you know? It's like bikes are slowly turning into sports cars. And that's cool, they look cool, but they're not going any faster than the regular cars that mechanics could work on. And people are like, what are you, allergic to money? Just fix the stuff, just fix it. And it's like, I saw the Ford CEOs like, we can't get mechanics in to do our warranty work anymore, and we're paying them 6 figures. And it's like, I'm a mechanic and we like fixing things that make sense. But you know, if you're a car mechanic and you have to spend 10 hours to replace a little button that you should be able to replace like that, you're literally torturing us with tedious tasks. Engineers, they don't think about the mechanic. You know, it's a tale as old as time, but when you don't think about the mechanic's desire to make things easily serviceable, you're cheapening, you're lowering the quality of the sport that's engaged by everyone, you know? It was probably a lot cooler to be into sports cars in the 60s and 70s when you could work on your Ford Mustang than to be into sports cars now, you know? And I don't want that to happen to bikes. That's why I'm making this video. You know, I'm making these videos, I'm going after brands. I'm not gonna be getting sponsors, I think, ever, because they're gonna be like, this guy is a loose cannon, he's making fun of everybody, he's criticizing everything. So just subscribe to my channel, make me feel like me saying something is resonating with people, and I'm getting a good amount of views, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, so quality versus luxury. Do we want to be in a community that just cares about looking cool? I mean, I want to look cool on my bike, don't get me wrong, but I'm just disheartened. Like I'm seeing other brands copy the Scott aesthetic of hiding the rear shock. You know, Bold Cycles is doing it. And then I saw Giant, their new Anthem has headset cable routing, proprietary headset nonsense. And it frustrates me because I see where this is going. Hey everybody, I had to cut the video off. I started coughing and no one wants to hear that. But have a good New Year's. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Have a good day everybody.